7 men dead, 1 woman claiming self-defense. Was Aileen Wuornos a cold-blooded killer or just the wrong fucking woman to cross? Either way, she made damn sure none of them walked away. We're going to talk about that today on Crime Through Time. Solomon.
What is up?
Aileen Wuornos.
Whew.
I mean, where do we start?
Where do we start? She's an interesting one. Yes.
Jesus.
So let's start this. How about I give a quick summary? Is that cool?
Yeah, give a quick summary of Aileen Wuornos, because I want to. This one is kind of like, where do you even start with her, first of all? Because she's got such a long, crazy story, and we got very different views on it. Well, we agree on some of the views, but then there's going to be people that are going to say we're frigging nuts, and that's okay. Oh, yeah. But go ahead. What do you got for a summary of this woman right here?
Aileen Carol Wuornos, born as Pittman. That was her maiden name. February 29th, 1956. That was when she was born. And then she was executed on October 9th, 2002.
Okay.
She was an American serial killer between 1989 and 1990 while engaging in street prostitution along highways in Florida. She shot dead and robbed 7 of her male clients. Wuornos claimed that her clients had either raped or attempted to rape her, and that the homicides of the men were committed in self-defense.
Whoa.
Wuornos was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders. And again, she was executed on October 9th, 2002 by lethal injection after spending more than 10 years on Florida's death row.
Whoa. That's heavy.
It's pretty deep.
Well, from what I've read, and people can disagree with me all they want, I've read this, and I know there's other facts out there that probably back everyone that disagrees with me, and that's okay. I'm going to just share it. Allegedly, she is the first woman, or one of the first women serial killers in the United States. Secondly, one of the first to be put to death.
That's correct. And there was a movie based off of her too.
Monster.
Really. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. You already talked about this. Charlize Theron.
Yep.
Remember, she needed to jack her teeth up a little bit more. Remember, we talked about that?
Yes. Yes.
Like, if you want to be accurate, make the teeth fucked up. All right. Her teeth are fucked up.
Well, here's the thing, Frankie. I think that when we see the images of actually Aileen Wuornos, her teeth was just horrendous. And, you know, Charlize Theron, she just has such beautiful teeth that even with the, you know, some people, you know, they said that she had prosthetics. It still was not the same, right? It still wasn't like Aileen Wuornos's teeth. But that, you know, that's the thing about a lot of these serial killers when they try to portray them in the media. Like there was another show called American Horror Story, and they had this one episode. Well, it was a series where they were in this one season. They had the Night Stalker, right? And they made him look like you know,
Ken doll.
Yeah, basically.
Just don't smile, dude.
Yeah, but you know, this guy in real life, if you see him smile, it is not pretty. We're talking about like a jack-o'-lantern when you
ugly motherfucker. And he got some stupid ass woman to marry him, and he's on death row with teeth that are falling out daily.
Well, you know, some people they have some people can't afford a dentist, Frankie. What can I say? It's pretty bad.
I don't think it's about the dentistry. I think it's about sanity at this point. Like, who wants to marry someone that's gonna die? Not from natural causes, at least, right?
Right.
Who the fuck marries someone on death row? Like, what purpose does that serve either of you? It should be. I don't think it should be allowed. That's another show. Anyways, so in 2002, she was shot up, put to sleep. Probably the best thing, but here's where I like to do. I want to go back to the beginning. This poor see, I don't want to say this yet. Let's just say that she grew up shitty. She had a shitty childhood from the second she was born. Can we agree on that?
Absolutely. I mean,
Why don't you elaborate for a second? Because you have a
mean,
little bit more insight on her story and what she was born into, because she was born into an absolute toxic environment and had no chance as a child.
well, I could tell you straight up that with the background she had, it almost felt like she didn't even have a chance the minute she was born. I mean, grew up in trauma, grew up with sexual abuse. It was a horrible, horrible scene. So let's wind the clock back in her earlier life. Wuornos was born as Arlene Carlos Pittman, and again, born on February 29, 1956, in Rochester, Michigan. Her mother was Diane Wuornos, and she was 14 when she was married to Eileen's father, who was 18 years old, Leo Pittman, on June 3rd, 1954.
Okay. Wow, you know it all.
Can we talk about the fact that her mother was 14 years old when she was married to her father? Okay.
Wait, so her mom was 14 and had her?
So I'll read it one more time. Her mother, Diane Wuornos, born 1939, was 14 years old when she married Eileen's father, 18 years old, Leo Pittman, on June 3rd, 1954.
Jeez.
And then on March 14th, 1955, Diane gave birth to Eileen's older brother, Keith. After less than 2 years of marriage and 2 months before Eileen was born, Diane filed for divorce. She gave birth to Eileen at the age of 16.
Okay. So she was a kid, had a kid.
A kid having a kid, yes.
A kid having a kid, that's where it starts. And probably, I imagine, it's just safe to say that mom had a shitty childhood too. I mean, she's having kids at age 16. Usually it's a troubled household.
Well, it sounds like this is the beginning of generational trauma here.
Whoa.
I mean,
big guns.
Not to, go too deep here, but it is well, let's talk more. Let me give you more background and
okay,
you can see where I'm coming from with this.
All right.
So
let's get there.
Wuornos never met her father. In 1967, Leo Pittman was sentenced to life imprisonment for kidnapping and raping a 7-year-old girl. All right. Now, Pittman, her father, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And
whose father? Eileen's?
Eileen's, yes.
Oh, so her dad had schizophrenia?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes. There we go. Keep going. This is helpful.
And unfortunately, he committed suicide by hanging himself in prison on January 30th, 1969. Wow. So, right from the beginning, we're seeing grief and trauma. We're seeing a lot of really heavy duty stuff. And how old? Okay, this was 1969, right?
Okay, so she's a baby still.
Right. So this is all still young girl. It's sad. So on January 1960, when Wuornos was almost 4 years old, Diane abandoned her children, leaving them with the maternal grandparents, Laurie and Britta Wuornos. They were both alcoholics who legally adopted Keith and Eileen on March 18th, 1960.
Money grab.
Yep. Laurie and Britta were Finnish Americans who were born in Finland, later moved to Michigan. So just some additional information there. Now, by the age of 11, Wuornos began engaging in sexual activities in schools in exchange for cigarettes, drugs, and food. So let's stop here, right?
Stop. Hit the brakes.
Let's hit the brakes. Oh, we're still new to this. We're gonna get that little sound effect there, little brakes.
Well, we just did it. That's our own sound effects.
Okay,
we're just raw,
you know what? You're right.
All right, so she started being a hooker age 11, essentially getting snacks and stuff, and that progressed into her 20s, and then she started getting put in prison. Right? Didn't you say she was in and out of prison?
Yeah, I mean, she was in and out of prison. I mean,
being a nut.
Now this is an interesting one. It was alleged that she had also engaged in sexual activities with her brother. So, this is just
Why
Yeah.
incest always seems to be part of these things too. As we keep going down this journey of true crime, we're probably going to be on serial killers most times because that's what everybody fucking loves. A lot of
Yeah.
these serial killers had fantasies on having sexual relations with their parents at some point in their young life. So that's interesting you brought that up. We'll talk about that when it
Yeah.
comes up. Definitely.
Absolutely. So this is another part in this. Wuornos said that her alcoholic grandfather had sexually assaulted and beaten her when she was a child. So again, we're seeing nothing but sexual abuse. And this is before the age of 14, because in 1970, when she was 14, she became pregnant after being raped by a family friend. So this little girl, right? 14 years old, you're a girl, you're just a little baby. She didn't even have a shot, okay? She didn't even have a chance.
No,
Like it
no,
wasn't even like it was almost game over at that point.
not even close.
I mean,
It's disturbing, right? This
yeah,
poor girl. And but here's the thing: you get to the point where they label the movie, entitle the movie "Monster," and I'll throw a reference out there. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he does have some good one-liners. Dr. Phil. He always asks a question. I don't ask her why. I ask her why not. Why not? Why not do all this stuff? You tried doing things the right way. You tried seeking love. You tried being part of a normal family. You kept getting thrown to the streets. You had to keep doing what you had to do. No wonder she was so filled with anger, rage, and fucked upness. Think about it.
So the question here is that did society fail her?
Oh, a little bit. They fail a lot of people, though.
This is true too. I
But
mean,
then you can also say, well, how many people has society failed, but they didn't end up doing what she did?
this is true.
There's
Now,
always the two sides, right?
yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
where I get conflicted because I actually understand the psychology like you do and where this whole thing started and why this might have come to, to life. But there's also serial killers that come from good childhoods, good upbringings that do more horrific things than she did.
right,
So
right.
it's such a I'm so confused.
Yeah, absolutely. I
This
mean, when we
man.
get to a guy like Ted Bundy, right?
Ugh.
That's a whole different beast. But Ted Bundy grew up in a very good childhood, so to speak. But compared to her, it was like, it was definitely much better. So going back to this, Wuornos gave birth to a boy at a home for unwed mothers.
So she had a kid too.
Yes, she did.
Eileen. Huh.
Yes.
Okay.
But
All right.
she gave that child up for adoption.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
what are you gonna
can
do
you
with that?
imagine? Can you imagine, Frankie, that
No.
you're adopted? So I'm assuming this child. This was 1971. This child was literally born. Probably don't even know about his mother. Can you
Yeah. Yep.
imagine finding
No.
out later that your mother was a serial killer?
There's other stories about that. We can do. I can't remember her name. Don't ask me now. But there was this. It was a big deal. It was a pregnant. We'll dig into it. But this happens sometimes where even you find out your father or your mother is a serial killer, and your whole life is turned upside down completely because you don't know, but people are looking at you
Right.
like, are they fucked up too? And that happens.
Well, you know what? When you look at this story here,
Yeah.
this shows that maybe environment plays a big part in this as well.
You become a product of your environment, right? Unless you choose otherwise. But sometimes you're so engulfed in that environment that you can't transition back to normality.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, I agree. Look, I mean, the thing about Wuornos is that she didn't have a chance. Eileen, right from the jump, has had sexual abuse, assaults, you name it.
Yep.
And the thing is, it just felt like she didn't have any support, any social support, just anyone there just to be there for her. It didn't look like that at all. It looked like she was just there, like just existing. no one really showed that care for her. I mean, from everything I'm seeing here, it looks like a very sad childhood.
Well, and that's just it. You get this woman who grew up so rough, no support, no love, even when guys would probably say the words "I love you" to her, just because they were saying those words to her.
Sure.
She was just toyed with her whole life, and when you get her out of this whole when she moves to Florida, wasn't that like early 80s, early 90s when she moved to Florida in the 80s?
80s, yeah, early 80s. Yes.
Okay, so she moves to Florida, probably I imagine, to maybe try to start fresh or something, but finds herself doing the same exact shit and getting mixed up even worse with other characters along the way. And that's where she met who we all know now as Selby, her lesbian girlfriend that she wanted nothing to do with in the beginning.
Right. And we'll get to that part.
Okay, continue on.
We got so much more here. This history just gives a lot about these awful things that she did later. So a few months after her son was born, she dropped out of school, and about the same time that her grandmother died from liver failure. So another support that is out of her life.
Jeez.
When Wuornos was 15, her grandfather threw her out of the house, and she began living in the woods near her old home and supported herself through prostitution. And tell you the truth, Frankie, this is the beginning of a monster. This is the beginning of her journey into
fucked upness. Yeah.
You say in your Frankie way, man. But
yeah, well, she got to the point where fucked upness was normal, and she got herself into some situations, most likely that were similar to the one that was portrayed in the movie of the attack scene, where she finally snapped and used that guy's gun and took his gun and killed the first guy. And I think she felt for once a sense of power over men that were normally abusive to her. Mm-hmm. Most times, more times than not. She got that power, and she was able to release however many years of just fucked upness.
Yeah.
Or in proper terms, anger.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that this woman was at a point in her life where everything felt meaningless. It just sounded like that. Everything just felt truly meaningless until she met Shelby, which we'll talk about later. It just looked like when Shelby got into the mix, things were very different for her. But things just only gets worse from her for her, moving forward, because on May 27th, 1974, at age 18, Wuornos was arrested in Jefferson County, Colorado, for driving under the influence, a DUI, disorderly conduct, and firing a .22 caliber pistol.
So she had fired weapons before, so she knows how to fire a weapon. Okay.
Yes. So she's not a rookie when it comes to firearms.
Well, 1976. That definitely assisted her. Jeez.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
1976.
Wuornos hitchhiked to Florida. See, that's where it was. 1976. That's where she came to Florida.
So she found herself in Florida, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And continued her life of hellaciousness at that point.
Yep.
Jeez Christ, poor girl.
That's where she met a 69-year-old yacht club president, Louis Gratfell, and then they got married very quickly, and the announcement of their nuptials was printed in the local newspapers, society pages. Interesting.
So she did get married, and I forgot about that, but it was really short-lived.
Yeah. I wonder if that Last Resort have that newspaper. Man, I need to go back.
I don't know, but we'll definitely get to that. What he's referring to is Solomon here was a foot soldier and actually visited in Daytona, Florida, the bar where Aileen Wuornos hung out, and it was her go-to dive bar We got a couple pictures and a video of him giving us a quick, brief rundown and tour of what's a shithole. It's a shithole bar called The Last Resort, but we'll get to that in a little bit. It's called a
dive bar, Frankie.
Well, dive bar. As a motorcycle rider myself, previous motorcycle rider, we call those shitholes. But we loved them. Those were the most fun. So anyways, I just wanted to let people know that we have some content coming up that you got being live on the ground.
Yes, indeed.
Crime Through Time's first ever feet on the ground.
Feet on the ground, like a true journalist. Yes, indeed.
Gathering content.
So Wuornos continually involved herself in confrontations at their local bar and went to jail for assault. And she just also fell with her own cane, with his own cane, leading him to gain a restraining order against her within weeks of the marriage. So they were still new. They were still newlyweds.
Jesus. I just put her picture up to show her face, just so we all stay present to what because you can get a lot from what people's facial expressions show. You can learn a lot from body language, and this woman has something in her. She's got that tick.
Yeah.
She's got
You
that
have
tick.
it up right now? Let me see.
Well,
let's see that.
This is her. This is her one of her courtroom pictures where she's where she's walking out going, "Yeah, fuck you," and you're all fucking idiots. And she went off in the courtroom a few times. She had no shame. But that's who we're talking about, folks. This is Aileen Wuornos. She was a very, very bad girl later in her life. But half of me doesn't blame her, and I feel bad for her. So I feel like, should I put myself on our fucked upness scale later for myself, feeling bad for her? I feel bad for her a little bit. I can't help but feel a little bit bad for her, but really I shouldn't, because she did some horrific. Bless you.
Thank you.
Live on the air, a sneeze that we're not going to edit.
Sweet. No, we're not, because we do everything raw as part of our live.
I'll make a hashtag sneeze.
So check this out. When with Wuornos, she did return back to Michigan, where on July 14th, 1976, she was arrested at another club called Bernie's Club in Mansalona, Antrim County, and charged with assault and disturbing the peace for throwing a cue ball at a bartender's head.
That shit hurts.
Yeah, those things are not. They're not.
Yeah, that'll get you a free beer, dummy.
Yeah, right.
Jesus Christ.
Now, this is more trauma and grief again on July 17th. In that same year, her brother Keith died from esophageal cancer, and Wuornos received $10,000 from his life insurance.
And $10,000 at that time was actually probably what, equivalent to about 40, 50 grand now?
This was 1976. Yeah. This is a decent amount of money. Yep.
So she had some money to play with, but she still had the fucked upness.
Right.
Yeesh.
So Wuornos and Fell annulled their marriage on July 21st after only 9 weeks.
That's the shortest marriage in history. Well, no. There's probably shorter ones, but that's pretty damn short. Yeah. So he had a good red flag meter. He sniffed out that shit right away and was like, "Peace, you got to go. Take your caramel teeth and get out of here."
Yep. 9 weeks. Shit. Only 9 weeks.
9 weeks. That's not even 3 months.
Nope.
That's like 2 months and a week. Like, what did you do? Just hang out for 2 months, and then when sex stopped, that was it? Jeez.
So 1976 in August, Wuornos was given a $105 fine for drunk driving. She used the money inherited from her brother to pay the fine and spend the rest within 2 months buying luxuries, including a new car, which she wrecked shortly afterwards. So that tells you there. So it's clear that
this woman basically was born into craziness, lived the craziness all the way up until the second they put the needle in her arm and stopped the craziness. She was just crazy. And at one point, it's fair to say, when her killing started, her first victim, what was that? Richard Mallory. She started killing in November of 1989, and it just continued on from there. Seven guys in total. But it's portrayed in the movie that she was attacked, that she snapped, and she ended up killing this guy, Richard Mallory, right?
Yes, Richard Mallory. And
it was a normal John who worked the strip. So she's in Florida.
So Richard, I mean, we can go straight there, because because after this it gets all, we talk about more of Shelby after this, but long story short, they met at a bar and they got really close, and she was not allegedly part of the sprees, and it was alleged.
No, she stayed at home the whole time, but she didn't discourage it. She knew what was going on. Right. But they came up with a deal because she took off back to Pennsylvania, I want to say, after this all happened. And part of the deal was, if she told everything she knew, that they would spare her life and she wouldn't have to go to prison. And Aileen took all the blame for everything.
Right.
Out of love for Selby.
Love.
Hashtag.
Yeah, I mean, even in the movie, I mean, I have to say, Monster, if you haven't seen the movie Monster, watch it. It's a fantastic movie.
Definitely a good movie. Yes. If you want to learn about the story of Aileen Wuornos, so you have to be a true crime lover like we are here, like me. I love true crime. I always have true crime on, Solomon. I need to go to a meeting every day. I watch something
true crime
every day. Yeah. True crime. True crime. I don't know. True crime anonymous. Something. Anyways.
True crime junkie.
But yeah. Oh, I'm a definite junkie. But why don't we do this? We mentioned that you got some footage and some stuff from The Last Resort. So before we put up the video here of you, we'll put up a couple of the pictures just to show people to understand the inside of this bar. From the couple pictures I'm going to put up, this bar probably wouldn't have survived all these years business-wise if Aileen Wuornos wouldn't have been a patron there, because the bar is still a dive. It's still just a bar, and they have a shrine set up for her. And we're going to put a picture of that up now. So right here, if you look, that's a little shrine they have out on the patio of this bar. Solomon was kind enough to be feet on the ground and get this picture here for us, but they have a picture of her, someone painted. They got little knickknacks and swag that probably represents her in some sort of way. And yeah, so this is The Last Resort. This is the door going in. So you can picture the kind of bar it is. Perfect for Aileen Wuornos. Yep. I could hang out there too, probably. I like those kind of bars.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to say, Last Resort, the owner wasn't there, but the bartender was very nice, and some of the people that was there, they just opened up, but they were just really kind people. I just want to throw that out there.
Wow, that's so cute. And then this picture here, this is the bottom of that shrine, and it showed, well, she liked Bud Light. There's a picture of her. Final words, lethal injection. They definitely built a shrine for her. I don't know if that's a shrine or just saying, you know what, this crazy bitch came to our bar all the time, so we're famous because of it. It could be that too.
Well, I think personally, I think the community, just seeing all the memorabilia and stuff. I mean, one could say that, after that movie, they've probably definitely got more attraction there, but I could definitely say that shrine, there are definitely people that just feel bad for her, and and that's not going to excuse the things that she did, because we're going to get to the series of murders that she's done. But I also think that when you look at her history, and then with all the sexual assault and abuse that she went through, people really felt bad, like really feel like, really feel bad about what this woman has went through,
I have to, half of me has to feel bad for her. She had no chance. She was basically tossed out on her ass at the age of 11ish, 12ish, 13ish, and then forced to live on her own and fend for herself in a really nasty world. No social media, no smartphones, no. I mean, it's fair to say that it probably wasn't as safe on the streets then as it might be now. Not that it's safe at all, but there are ways that safety is looked at. She just didn't have a chance, and it led up to these horrific murders. Which, if you want to start with the murders and go over the murders, we have some time. We got about we're 20 minutes left here. So it started in '89 when she shot that Richard Mallory, and then a year later, well, this was in November, and in May, David Spears, and they were all in their 40s, except for a couple of them that were 50 and 65.
Mallory was 51.
Okay, so it was the same age group.
Yeah, they were. They were middle-aged men. So let's start. So these murders, Aileen Wuornos murdered 7 men within 12 months. So this is a short spree compared to some of the other serial killers that we're going to get into. It's messed up to say that this is short, but this is the type of people we're dealing with, Frankie.
Well, it's not short. She's got a long life, and to dig into each and every dot and T and J in her life, we'd be here for months, and people have already done that. So basically, we're just digging up the basic facts that anybody and everybody can look up on the internet, but we're just giving our spin on it. I think she's definitely on the fucked upness scale for sure. That we'll figure that out at the end. But it wasn't all her fault. It wasn't all her fault.
It wasn't. I mean,
this is that unique one.
This one is very unique, and all the men were motorists between the age of 40 to 65, right? So you have, and that's right. There was someone that was a little older as well, but we'll get to that. So the first victim was Richard Charles Mallory, age 51. He was an electronics store owner over in Clearwater. And now this is the one. Now this one that we're about to start with, this is very important with this whole case because
get it right.
This is the one that Wuornos claimed that he raped and sodomized her.
Okay.
After he drove her to an abandoned area for sexual services.
Okay.
Mallory was Wuornos' first victim, and she claimed to have killed him in self-defense. Later, it became known that Mallory had previously been convicted for attempted rape in Maryland. So, this case is interesting because this could have been a situation where that Aileen might have had some validity with what she was saying because this victim, it was claimed that he already had been convicted for attempted rape in Maryland.
So if she would have stopped there, it's fair to say that she might have had a chance of getting away with one murder at least.
I would say maybe
because Florida has that you stand your ground law where if you're gonna die, you can kill or be killed.
Well, I don't know how old the stand your ground law is, but
okay.
I mean, I would say that with that, who knows what would have happened with the other victims and the sentencing is what I'm trying to get at. Would she would have had been executed or would they would have gave her life? I don't know. This is one of those things that are quite interesting. And at the end of the day, Frankie, you and I, we're just giving our opinions. None of this is like, we're not lawyers. We're not, giving any true professional advice. This is just us talking and just chit-chatting about this.
Well, she is. I mean, she's definitely a unique person. She's the type of person that even the arresting officers and detectives and all the law enforcement personnel that brought her in, they were all there having coffee with her. She was laughing with them. She was talking with them like one of the guys after she had committed these heinous murders.
Right.
And they all said she's got a personality that you want to hang out with and you want to talk to.
I agree. And later it became known that Mallory have been convicted of these things, like I said. And then 2 days after the murder, a Volusia County deputy sheriff found Mallory abandoned vehicle. On December 13th, his body was found several miles away in a wooden area. Yeah. So he had been shot several times.
Jesus.
And 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have been the cause of death.
Do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Fill the bullet holes. Jesus.
Yeah. So, and remember what I told you in her childhood, she's not a rookie when it comes to firearms.
She had experience with firearms. At least she knew how to shoot a gun.
Right.
And the gun that she was using was not a very big gun. So she had to, if she wanted to,
she had to unload.
She had to unload that sucker. And she did pretty much every time. She cleaned up her scenes. She took the license plates of the cars. She would ditch the cars. And we'll get into why it was even believed that it could be a female serial killer that they were looking for, because she screwed up with one stupid little thing. Otherwise, she'd probably still be out there.
Yeah. So
think of that weird shit.
Now check this one out. The second victim, and at the end of the day, I just want to say that these people were victims, and no one should die from any of this stuff. And it's very sad because it didn't have to go this way. David Andrew Spears, age 47, was a construction worker in Winter Garden. So that's like Central Florida area.
Yeah.
He was declared missing as of 1990, and on May 19th, 1990.
And he was shot 6 times with the same 22 pistol.
Yep.
And then it says here,
body was naked too.
Jesus, she really roasted his ass. And then you go to Charles Karskadin, I want to say his name is, a rodeo worker.
Yes.
Well, she stripped him of all her clothes. It seemed to turn into one of her, what do you want to call it, marks, if you will?
That could be a possibility. Now, in the movie, she will also take the clippings too. But she had her own reasons because of
she wanted to see if the investigation was leading to her.
Correct.
So she kept a journal of the newspaper.
Yes.
And that's where her girlfriend started to catch on to what was really going on.
Yes, she did.
How she was getting this money, where were these fucking cars coming from? I mean, who's going to lend her a fucking car? She's a hooker. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but I'm not going to lend a hooker my car. So a lot of red flags were going up, and Selby started noticing it, but Selby was being taken care of. So Selby was on the fucked upness scale too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they did this together. Essentially, she got away with it. She didn't do anything, but she was part of it.
Selby knew her assignment with this.
Well, she knew what was going on.
She knew what was going on. I mean, from everything that I'm reading, I mean, it's definitely looks like that. And did she in the movie? It looked like she took the witness stand, right? So it's She was on the stand.
She did take the witness stand, but it was more just I don't know.
Well,
she was already fucked, and she wanted to get her words in and try to throw that last story out there to see if it would stick. To that she was in fear of her life all 7 times for all 7 murders, and she tried to convince the jury of that. It was like a last ditch effort testimony on her behalf.
Yeah,
and I mean she was already screwed, and everybody knew it. She admitted to it. What do you think? Oh, you admit to this, you confess to this on tape, but then you're going to come in the courtroom and testify saying that you felt threatened the whole time. So it's just, she had no chance. Sentenced to death.
So each one, I would say that there are different, I guess you could say marks. I mean, this one, the body has been wrapped in an electric blanket and was badly decomposed. It was found. This was Charles Edmund Karskadon. Excuse me if I mispronounced the name, but
you're not excused. Stop fucking up. I can help you. Just call him Charles C.
Charles C. Got
CEC. and then Peter Seams.
Peter Seams,
65, retired merchant.
Now Charles C. was, his death, he was 40 years old. That was the 40-year-old. And then you had Peter Seams, that was 65, was a retired seaman that lived in Jupiter, Florida. Yeah.
See, now that makes sense. At least it's starting to call it something different. Okay, go ahead.
And then they found his car on July 4th of July, on 1990 in Orange Springs.
And that's where they noticed that the seat was pushed up, that a short person moved it, right? I believe. Stupid.
I believe so, yes.
But real quick, Solomon, we're getting to the 45-minute mark already, if you believe it.
Oh my goodness.
So what I'm thinking is this. Let's show everybody that video of you on the ground.
Okay.
The last resort. I want people to see the commitment that you have for getting this content, specifically for this story of Aileen Wuornos and her horrific life and her horrific life of crime that led to her lethal injection in 2002. But anyways, I want to show people this because it is a really good video.
Well, you know what, Frankie? Before we do that, let me just get very quickly the rest of these victims.
Okay, there's only a couple left anyways.
There's only a few more left.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we didn't forget that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to get right into it. You're absolutely right with that. So there's Troy Eugene Burris at age 50, was a sausage salesman in Ocala, Florida. On July 31st, 1990, he was reported missing and then was found on August 4th, 1990. This one, he was shot twice. And Charles Richard Humphreys, they will call him Dick, that's his nickname, age 56, retired United States Air Force major, and a former state child abuse investigator.
Wow.
And former chief of police. Yes.
He could have maybe helped her. Jeez.
I know. So this murder was September 11th, 1990. On September 12th, his body was found in Marion County, fully clothed, shot 7 times.
She probably realized he was a cop and boogied. Get the fuck out of there. Damn. And
then the last one was Walter Gino Antonio, age 61, was a truck driver, security guard and reserve police officer. November 19th, 1990, Antonio's nearly naked body was found near a remote lodging road in Dixie County. He was shot 4 times. 5 days later, his car was found in Brevard. So those were the victims. Rest in peace.
Yes, definitely rest in peace.
And
here we are. Here I am at least saying I feel bad for her, but I have to feel bad for them. Obviously, they didn't deserve that.
They did not. No.
But then there's 2 sides to every story, right? Why are they out there picking up hookers? They're playing a dangerous game, just like the hookers are. So I'm just reporting. Okay, I'm Frankie J. I just report what I feel, what I think, what I speculate. They were all playing a dangerous game. They all lost at this particular moment. Seven guys lost their lives to Aileen Wuornos and her fucked up this, overall fucked up this, but they were all playing the same dangerous game. So what do you say to that?
I mean, even though it is a dangerous game, doing stuff like that, no one had to go that way. No one had to die. I think I think that the first one, Charles Mallory, Richard Charles Mallory, maybe that's triggered all these others, because prior to this, yes, she had a pretty bad rap, pretty bad history of crime. I mean, we see suicide attempts, but I see, on the clinical end, I see someone that needs help. I just see someone that's.
You said she had multiple attempts, like 6 or 7, right, throughout her life.
Yeah, 6 times. She shot herself in the stomach. I mean, damn. That's intense, man.
A little bit, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think this was a woman that needs some help, and but at the same time, we have these people, these victims that didn't deserve to die. So
they needed their own help. Rest in peace for sure. They definitely needed their own sort of help if they're out picking up hookers. So again, dangerous game for all involved. But I do want to show this video, Solomon, if you don't mind.
Do it. Yes,
because this is him on the ground. This is our Solomon on the ground at the last resort.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Solomon, and I am at the Last Resort bar in Daytona Beach, Florida. This is the infamous bar where Aileen Wuornos used to come and hang out. And I'm just gonna change the screen here. This is the Last Resort, and it says that it was supposed to be open at 10 a.m., but it's not open. No one's here, so I'm just showing the video of it. A little bit of the area here, but yeah, this is the bar that she used to go to. And Aileen Wuornos was infamous female serial killer back in the 90s, and she was executed in, I believe it was 2002, and then there was a movie that was released about her called Monster. So I'm just gonna share some more. Hopefully you guys can see it. And I guess,
my God,
I'll just come back later. And guess I'm on camera. But yeah, I guess.
Wow, good job, Solomon. Good job. It
shows
put in
that work, man.
Put in the work, and you're down there, and that's like ground zero, baby. That's pure biker bar right there. So I want to go with you next time. That's one of those bars where it's just one of those bars.
We definitely got to meet the owner, Al. I think that's his name, Al.
We got to email that guy and get him on the show.
I'm sure he has some stories.
Oh God. You imagine, I mean, they got their own hot sauce made for her. They're selling t-shirts. If I go there, I'd buy a t-shirt and hang it up on my wood wall behind me.
No, I'm gonna go back. Because Daytona Beach technically is in Port Orange, Florida, but it's part of Volusia County. But I will be back there, and I want to meet Al. Maybe we can go there together if we can. And
well, maybe January next year when we go to Podfest. But
that's right.
We can maybe try then. But good job getting there, getting your feet on the ground, going to the bar where she hung out at and drank at, partied at, probably picked up a lot of Johns at, and ultimately was arrested at. Pretty sweet shit. And the place hasn't even put any paint on the place. It looks like they're keeping it very vintage, very Eileenish.
So check this out. In the back of the bar, I saw these trailers and I saw like a whole bunch of stuff, like props and stuff. And I was talking to the bartender about it. And I was like, what is all this?
Oh, is this the shrine you're talking about right here?
Yeah, that's the shrine.
Yeah, the shrine. Yeah.
Yeah. And that part, I think there's a lot of people in that community that really feel bad for her. But going back to this side area, there's like a bunch of props, and I think the bartender said that was actually from the movie, and they just kept all the stuff there.
They left the props, and here's the main entrance to the bar, so we can figure out what kind of bar that is. But that's where she that was it. That was the last door she walked out of before she walked into the gated community that we call the penitentiary.
Yes.
What?
And this woman, what a story.
So really, like, what a huge story. Like, that's a big story.
So,
oh wow.
Oh,
we're at 10 minutes here. It's almost that time. This is where Solomon and I like to try to wrap things up, give our final thoughts. But before we do that, we want to thank everybody that's watching right now live, wherever you're watching. Please drop a comment if it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or on StreamYard. You can watch it. Even drop a comment. We'll definitely communicate with you. And stay tuned at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, right after the show. We're going to be going live on X Spaces to do an after show. And I will put up my Twitter handle so you can all find me and come into our space and talk about the show, what we might have missed, what we could have added, what would have made it better. Come in and talk some shit with us in the after show.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Salman, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This was a woman that was unstable. This was a woman that had a lot of serious issues. And one thing I want to say is that, you know, at her sentencing, they had psychiatrists for the defense for Wuornos, and they said that she was mentally unstable. And it was said on record that she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and personality disorder. So, and then 4 days later, she was sentenced to death. So, you know, going back to this entire story, this was a woman that went through a lot of trauma, that went through a lot of abuse, and just like we said from the beginning, she started off with not a chance, and then
no chance at all.
No chance at all. And then she later just kept going through this, and there was a point in her teens where it was just, I'm done. And then that's where the crimes happened, and then unfortunately, it just kept going worse. So this is a tragedy more than anything. And then we have 7 victims that died from this woman that had her own trauma, and this is just probably one of the sadder cases that we're going to go into. So yeah, this one is unfortunate, is all I have to say.
I would have to agree with you. So I'm going to give my final take on it. So my final take on it is this: she grew up in a shitty household. It was bound to happen that she would get caught up in drugs, alcohol, the life that she eventually chose to live. She got herself into a situation where she did what she did, and she did it along with the help of her girlfriend, Selby, who was more or less, I want to say, her motivation to survive and to put the work in and eventually get caught up with what she got caught up with. I put her on the fucked upness scale of like 100. She's up there. She did what she did. She was sentenced to 6 death sentences. Wow. And it was carried out in 2002. A lot of people were happy. A lot of people were sad. And that's why this case is so interesting to both Solomon and I, for sure. That's my final take on it. But Solomon, if I may, you'll see on the screen there at Raw Live. That is our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Subscribe. And then we have, I'm going to put up my screen name for X. So right following the show at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, jump onto our live X space where we're going to do our after show about Aileen Wuornos and anything upcoming. But before we end things, I want to thank Solomon for kicking ass and getting ready for this show, being feet on the ground, our soldier. We're going to start paying for him to travel, so definitely, feel free to donate if you want.
Yeah,
we'll get him around. But next week, for everybody that is a huge fan, please again subscribe, like, share, comment. Next week we're going to talk about the infamous Green River Killer, the one, the only Gary Ridgway. This sucker right here.
Gary Ridgway. Not Ridgewood. Ridgway.
Yeah, not Ridgewood. Ridgway. Very, very unique. Confirmed 49, suspected of 73 rapes and murders in the Washington area for over 2 decades. And they finally caught him because they were able to catch up with him with a little bit of DNA. But Salman, I want to take a second to thank you for doing this, being part of this project called Crime Through Time. This is the episode of Aileen Wuornos. Next week, we do Gary Ridgway. But until next time, everybody, continue to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that stuff. And we will see you next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you all then.